Et bonjour à tous, c'est Commente. Donc aujourd'hui, on va se retrouver dans Autopsy Simulator, qui est un jeu un peu similaire à Mortuaire et Assistant. C'est pas les mêmes choses, pas les mêmes actions, mais c'est un peu dans la même branche, même sorte de jeu. Autopsie et quoi. Donc, j'ai déjà joué au jeu hors stream et adoré. Et je vais vous faire un bon avec vous. Donc, bah, c'est parti. Charger. Bienvenue dans l'univers de... Attendez. Voilà. Bienvenue dans l'univers de... Ah. Ah non, c'est bon. Ah, parce qu'en fait, je sais pas si vous l'avez vu, mais il y avait marqué... Ne réponds pas.
Office of the Medical Examiner, Beatsville. Dr. Jack Hanman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious for the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife.
Oh.
Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it.
Ah, il boit.
I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
Je vais cacher dans... Bonjour. Ouais, maintenant. Qu'est-ce donc là?
Okay,
On m'est
time to
caché.
pull myself together. And get back to work.
Par exemple, je refais.
I've already taken my pills. Not looking to overdose.
Bon. Or que... Et...
I need to set up the camera first. This place is starting to look like a hoarder's dream, rather than a storage room. Now remember, Jack, don't forget, hit the record button this time.
Voilà.
But the word is, the lab will be open tomorrow. But the word is, the lab will be open tomorrow. Let's hope I'm not caught short this evening.
Ma vie, c'est une cafette. DJ. Et bienvenue dans le laboratoire.
Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up.
Désolé.
Now, I just have to get everything in frame. This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m. Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Let's start. Always wear an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp accidents, it's worth having disinfectants at hand. It's true that you won't get ptomaine poisoning straight away, but if your liver or kidney aren't doing well, you may end up with diarrhea. The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something, like I do all the time. In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process. And lastly, remember that during your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. Now, onto the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we? The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers, locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years. The deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows. Signs of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket.
Découvert. Il avait des bons repas. Un repas.
He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased. The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man. That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves. Now it's our turn to take some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera. It's in here somewhere. Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere. As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame. Voila! Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary. A boiler-healed wound. Looks old. I'll take a closer look later. hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite? Some wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small. That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain. In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data. Personal information. The deceased was unclothed. Date. Okay. As you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass. Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife. Which spot first? I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen.
Pour les personnes. Des zones où
It looks like a burn mark. No doubt painful, but it's not pertinent for this case. Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color. Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes. First, I marked the location of the injuries and the head wound. If Toby's body, even though this type of wound we're not in frost season yet, but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be causes of frostbite. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of. Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. We will check if there are any signs of freezing internally. This is of no interest to us. Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list. We still have one thing left from the basics, rigor mortis. Well, we take our deceased by the hand, gradually re-raise it, now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police information appears correct. Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw. The cut is made from ear to ear. After which, we remove the skin and the top of the skull. After the basic exam, some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now. Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us. So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain. We can rule the fatal accident out as well. Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit. The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y. We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall. All right, now we peel back and separate the skin.
Ah.
Now, we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this. Quite a satisfying crunch, for some anyway. After removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice we can see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... what was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation. What now? The syringe. Now's a good touch. Specifically 3. From the eye, the heart, and the bladder. Now from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge. But before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings. Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
Bonjour, je suis Brooks, journaliste au Nous, qu'il. Vous n'étiez pas chez vous. Comment ça? Bref, comme vous le savez, écrire un article mettant à l'honneur les réalisations de votre femme. Nous serons ravis d'en discuter avec vous. Je joins ma carte de visite à ce message. Je vous appellerai ce soir, j'espère que vous serez chez vous au votre travail. Cordialement, Kate. D'accord, donc Madame Brooks a parlé. Je pense parce que nous, mais on...
They definitely pay me too little for this. Stephen didn't clean up after himself again. He won't be needed for the next few months. He won't be needed for the next few months. Wednesday. It's not my favorite day, although it's certainly better than Monday.
Oui.
I guess it was in another life. Awful. It would be good to finally repair the coffee machine. This old thing is covered in stains. I should check this out under the microscope sometime. Let's get back to the examination. We put all of the samples into the rotor. Now, we set the appropriate time and speed. Okay, let's roll. Oh shit, the fuses again.
Oh.
My old but trusted centrifuge. Ideal for all the fluid tests I need to perform during an... Where were we? Oh yes, the blood alcohol concentration. Let's see what we've got here. Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However, considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol, I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all. Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart. We remove the organ and examine it closely. We look for dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death. Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. Size is normal, healthy, and as expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside. We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out. We open the stomach along the greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end. Oh, I already feel like there's something left inside.
La bouffe. Ceux qui connaissent, ça me fait penser au jeu de la souricière.
Okay, large amount of gas. Small amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents.
Alors, du coup.
There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck. At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as with the stomach. The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray. While cutting such a small organ as the trachea, we must make a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the scalpel as we would a pen. And after careful examination and deduction, we've got it. A clogged trachea. It's time to summarize the whole thing. Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then, the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Un accident.
And now it's all clear. The death was suffocation. Now, signature.
Tellement d'alcool. De morceaux.
The mystery is solved. But for us, this is not the end. First, the dead body needs to be cleaned up.
Bonhomme. Bah, voilà. Ah.
For this, we will need to close the body and grab the needle.
Le corps.
First, we unroll the skin
On l'a
flaps.
fait en 8 minutes. Ah oui, ça va faire quoi? Minutes que...
And then, we sew the deceased back up. I'm using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do. Beautiful. Now we say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey. God, I'm tired. I'll drop these samples off at the lab on the way to the bar.
Voilà. Donc on a fini. Caméra.
I'll call Steven. I don't feel like drinking alone today.
Ça rentre chez moi, je vois un cadavre comme ça. Ça s'appelle tête de mort. C'est magnifique. Non, laissez-moi. Laissez-moi. Arrêtez. Il ne faut pas rentrer dans votre mort pour pouvoir continuer. On me tire de tout. Quand je rentre chez moi, c'est ça. Hop. Le pitié de mort. C'est bon, c'est passé. On a vu en haut à droite la petite tête là. On peut dire que... Sauvegarde.
Forgive me. What? Christ. What a dream. Fuck.
Donc, là on a vu le chapitre... Là on commence le chapitre 1 où le chapitre 1 est déjà fini. En gros... Donc en gros, qu'on a fini quoi. Hein, enfin, on a fini l'introduction. Minute pour commencer le... Bon, on parle dans le chapitre 1.
These were from Thanksgiving. Stephen invited me. I was going to give them to his mother, but then I met Alice. That was the first time I saw her. She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck. It was a miracle that the coffee didn't wash off the writing. And that she said yes. She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same day. She said it was for luck. It's always good to have something for a rainy day. These were from Thanksgiving. Stephen invited me. I was going to give them to his mother. I wasn't able to support her through this.
Je vais noter la date. Que ça. Je sais pas. Noter. Peut-être que ça sert à rien. Mais bon. Autopsy simulator. 9. 0. 1900.
Till death do us part.
Non. Bon. Je regarde un peu tout, hein. C'est caché, oui, mais...
It's been almost a year. Time flies, and probably doesn't have to get up to work. Time flies, and probably doesn't have to get up to work. So much light everywhere. It hurts too much to look at these, but I can't throw them away.
Moi, je regarde.
Some days, I just feel like setting fire to all this paperwork.
Moi, quand je vois c'est tout. Le toi, chef de... Hein? Et donc là, il y a une carte. Il y a des... Et là, il y a... Et des tickets pour Paris, enfin bref, c'est faire. Faire, je pense.
I'm not in the mood for music lately. I'm not in the mood for music lately.
Je regarde un peu tout parce que... Elle est pas moche. Elle a les cheveux lâchés. Franchement, ça va. Et peut-être l'autre, elle est moche, mais... Belle femme. Et après...
view isn't spectacular, but why does that car look familiar?
Elle est jolie. Le derrière. 24. Donc Steven.
The remnants of last night's binge with Steven.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still edible.
Donc le Steven.
Menu for today: dinner in town and takeaway coffee. A pill a day keeps the defective Jack away. It's a shame these won't help with my hangover. It's just too dirty to use. The fucking phone. Okay. I know I'm late. I'll be there soon. It's not like the dead are impatient.
Jack, no.
Alice? Who is this?
It's Charlotte Graves.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you. I thought it was work calling.
It's okay. I hate it when work calls me at home, too. How is everything? We haven't talked since... you know.
Well, there are good days, and there are bad days. What can I say? At least I can hide away at work.
Well, you always were the most comfortable in the dissecting room. Listen, I have an unusual request.
Okay, how can I help?
It's nothing serious. I just wanted to ask. Do you have any pictures of Alice? Maybe one where the two of us are together? I'd love to have something to remind me of her.
I guess. I'm not sure. I'll look through her things.
Thank you. I'm sorry to trouble you with this. All this can't be easy for you.
I'll get through it somehow. I've been meaning to sort through her stuff for a while. Have you asked Steven if he has anything?
Yes, I spoke with him this morning. He said he gave everything to their mother and that I should ask you.
I see.
Jack, I know you're trying. That you cope somehow. Steven's there for you. Although, well, we all know how he can be. But, I mean, if you wanted to reminisce about Alice, talk.
I really should go now. I overslept, I'm late for work, and I still have some errands to run on the way.
Oh. Okay, sure. Sorry to keep you.
I'll look for something and send it over. Thanks for the call, and bye.
Oh, do you have my address?
Not on hand. You'd best remind me again.
292 Browning Lane, apartment 432, Johnson City, New York, 13790.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. It would mean a lot to me. Just miss her so much.
Yeah, me too. And that's okay. Really, no problem.
Thank you. Take care, Jack.
You too, Charlotte. It was nice to hear you. Well, that was a bit unexpected. I should probably find something to send.
C'est moi? Je suis folle? Ou quand j'étais là au téléphone, là, je me suis retournée juste là, il y avait un rayon de soleil là et une ombre qui est passée juste là. Montrer quelque chose.
Alice and Charlotte in Amsterdam. It's hard to believe they've known each other for so long. would be better if Charlotte had this. It deserves to be on display and not hidden in a drawer. Okay, time to go to work. I'm seriously late. I should grab some coffee and aspirin on the way. These fluorescent tubes are brutal.
Dans les étages. Bon. Ouais, non.
I hope this helps, Charlotte. Okay. All done here. Time to go. Huh? Damn. I forgot my jacket. Well. I'll brave it for tonight. Too bad.
Génial. Là, il y a une photo où il y a les pilules, il y a l'appartement. Où d'ailleurs?
Nice and fresh. At least it's peaceful here.
Et laissez. C'est du début. Enfin, la partie. Les deux cartes.
Good evening, Mr. Ridley.
The timesheet, Hanman.
Je suis sûr que pas possible. Il y a. Il est là juste pour Autopsy. Mais parce que c'est on dirait bizarre.
Some corpses have more personality than this guy.
Je peux pas y aller avant. Ah, la bouche, vous allez voir. Et le bureau.
Christ. Who leaves the window open in the middle of November? So I'd better check the answering machine.
Hi, Jack. I dropped by a little early today. I left the body with Ridley in the corridor. He wasn't sitting in the locker then, so maybe he'll even throw him into the room. Well, how are you doing? I mean, it's your first birthday without her, and... This, I still have a hangover, and you know me, I run to the John like the neighbor's fucking dog. You know, today I slipped on his shit again. That fucking furball. He always has to shit next to my car. Anyway, I can't come over in the evening, but we'll catch up on the weekend, okay? Bye. I almost forgot. Charlotte called me this morning. She asked about you, so answer your calls, Jack. This time it's not a reprimand for being late.
That's par for the course. I wonder when this clown will learn to look under his feet. Birthday. I actually forgot it was today. Alice baked me muffins like these every birthday. A treat for later. I always crave something sweet after a section. Okay, joke's over. Apron, gloves, and get to work.
Ouais, donc... alors, on a beaucoup d'informations. On sait qu'elle est décédée. Non. Charlotte, une amie festive, collègue de boulot. Elle a fait les cas. Pour l'instant. Donc, tenir les... Il faut avoir l'énergie. Là, j'ai besoin de faire une pause alimentaire. On revient après. Là. Donc, j'ai fait ma petite pause. Et nous revoici donc. Orphée est habillé suspendu dans la salle d'autopsie. Tourne en arrière, mais non. Non,
Man, I remember you. You were on that talent show. What was your name again? I need to order another batch of these. I've got to remember to do that later. And that's the whole point.
Alors.
Steven laughs at me for recording everything. He says I have a bigger collection of stuff like this than most of the creeps he's caught. November 21st, 1991. Time, 9:13 p.m. The autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Lecture for the Medical University of Missouri. So, where do I start? That's right, Billy's folder. I wasn't sure it would amount to anything, but the World Wide Web has been a blessing for speeding up my work.
Bon, merci. Il y a plein de... Moi, j'aime bien quand c'est les mêmes. Du dossier de la police.
Ah, yes. Samantha Barker. Now I remember. There's probably going to be a lot of chatter about this.
Super certain en show. Samantha Barker. Oh.
When questioned, friends admitted that Samantha's last days before losing contact seemed extremely happy and relaxed. She also quit drinking alcohol and mentioned something about rehab. The friend also admits that there was no indication of an impending tragedy.
Elle avait arrêté l'alcool, elle a fini.
Found in her own apartment by police patrol. Officers were called by a concerned friend of the deceased, who had been unable to contact Barker for several days.
Donc là, on voit un plan défini. Donc, il a été entre une non, armchair. Soit c'est une armoire, soit c'est les Thompson trucs là. Et j'ai le nom qui ça va me revenir, je pense. C'est les chair là. Je sais comment on appelle ça. En gros, c'est des chaises. J'essaie de remettre, mais je veux bien parce que je vois autour caméra, c'est pas bien. La mèche qui part, elle était comme ça, elle est partie en cacahuète. Et les stalking chairs, je sais pas. Stalking chairs, bref. En fait, c'est des chaises que nos grands-parents ils avaient et qu'on se secouait dessus. Et toute seule. Dans certains jeux d'horreur, il y a ce genre. Fait penser à la chair dedans.
During the interrogation, a friend of the deceased admitted that Samantha never got to grips with the sudden fame that came after winning such a high-profile talent show.
Ah, mais
After her first album became a commercial success, she was hit with a creative drought. She suffered panic attacks and severe sleep problems. Drugs and medication came into play. The deceased was found in her own apartment, in a semi-recumbent position on an armchair. Large quantities of alcohol and empty packets of sleeping pills were also found in the apartment.
cette photo là, souvenez-vous-en bien. Parce que normalement dans le champ du jeu, tous les il y a les médicaments.
Well, let's see what settled this matter. As you can see, the body is fully clothed. Therefore, before we move on to photographic... Okay, now we can continue with the examination. Again, begin by taking photographs of the cadaver. I guarantee that over time it will cease being embarrassing for you.
Et pas ce jeu pour voir les corps dénudés.
First, we photograph the whole body.
Et ce jeu.
And now, any suspicious-looking marks or wounds. Yes, I've seen this many times. Interesting. Very uneven. We need to investigate this. You don't get such bruises from a normal contusion. Well, there's even more here.
Ça a été brûlé. Hématome.
A few we will need to look into here.
Hématome. Oh.
Notes prepared. Time to take a closer look. Some furrows have imprinted more strongly, others less, as if someone was, undecided?
Oh, il est...
The number of bruises suggests that there may have been some kind of tussle. Such bruises are caused by either a very heavy blow or by some internal issues. And here's something interesting. The skin of the deceased is covered with numerous blisters. Some of them are ruptured, others still contain fluid residue. More numerous blisters. We have some leads to investigate here. Let's write this down. On the neck of the deceased. Currently, it's difficult to say what. In general, such although it's easier to have abrasions on your feet, given the condition of the deceased, it's difficult to tell immediately whether the bruises were the result of a struggle or perhaps the result of iron deficiency.
Vous m'excuserez, mais Bon, j'ai signalé comme manger. Il y a un peu. En même temps, le signal. Au point.
A severed spinal cord, trauma to the larynx, or trachea will verify whether the hanging was the final nail in Miss Barker's coffin. After examining the organs, we can easily verify whether there was internal bleeding or whether the deceased was suffering from something.
Hémorragie.
I'll add barbiturates to the list of necessary tests. To be checked in the lab later. The examination with a UV lamp will dispel some doubts. Potential attackers could have left traces. Given the testimony of the victim's friend, I add alcohol poisoning to the list of potential causes of Miss Barker's death. A blood test will no doubt quickly verify that hypothesis. But first I'll check for external traces. For this we use the good old UV lamp.
Pour moi, là juste en ayant vu ça, ça serait plus le suicide et l'overdose. Le suicide parce que l'overdose et médicaments. C'est bon, on verra.
I look carefully at the whole body. UV rays will reveal any traces. The area around the head is empty. Torso. Empty, without marks. Right hand clean. Legs, there's nothing here.
On l'a tout fait.
The left hand seems to be fine. No marks. Well, nothing to surprise us here. Now gently, we take the deceased by the hand. And we check for rigor mortis. Again, the hand falls freely. After yesterday, you should know what this means. Since we don't have a definitive lead, we will examine all the key organs one by one. So, I'm starting the internal inspection. I dissect the skin of the deceased.
Compliqué.
And I proceed to deflect the skin flaps. Compared with yesterday's body, the deceased has only trace amounts of adipose tissue.
Avec moi la personne.
Now for the ribs. What do we have here?
Oh.
Or rather, what don't we have? There is certainly no sign of internal bleeding. Sometimes regarding bruising, it doesn't take much. My wife was constantly banging into furniture, walking into door frames. That's a wonder she never broke anything. Before I disembowel the deceased, I will take samples for toxicological tests to determine the alcohol content in the body. I just need my syringe. Just to be sure, I'm taking samples from 3 organs. All done? I'll transfer these to the centrifuge. What was it? 15, 70, 10, 75?
Les bureaux, récupérer les voilà.
Maybe one day I won't need my notebook. Numbers have never been my strong point. It's probably why I regularly forgot birthdays and anniversaries. I'm lucky Alice always forgave me.
Donc là, on va faire tester la présence d'apprennent. Mettre les trois. Hop.
Gently does it with this old thing. Handle with kid gloves. I'm starting the centrifuge. Let's see what results come out. The laboratory is already open, so... Fucking hell! Ridley! Mr. Ridley! Where is he? The fuses need resetting. Fuck it. I'll do it myself. I swear there was a flashlight in here.
On va aller voir. Toi, tu restes là, hein. Attention. On va pas. Allez voir les.
Whatever. I know where the switches are anyway.
Génial.
First the right, and then the left. And voila.
And voilà.
What?
J'adore.
What the? Oh, for fuck's sake. Can't I work in peace?
Voilà. C'est un. Il est anglais. C'est dur en français. Et end.
Jack Hanman speaking.
Easy, why so rude?
Steve? Sorry, man. This place is falling apart, and Ridley won't even lift a finger to help. You just can't work here.
Did the centrifuge strip the fuses again?
Yeah. Eventually, everything's gonna go up in smoke.
Look on the bright side. It's a free cremation with your autopsy.
Jesus, stop it. That shit pisses me off.
Okay, sorry, Jack. Anyway, I'm calling to ask how the autopsy's going. Soon there'll be journalists sniffing around for info, so we'd best be ready.
I'll whiz through this in a couple of hours. It doesn't look like a complicated case to me. More of a formality. The report will be available in the morning.
Sounds great. Thanks. Phew! How's your head?
Well, my head seems better than yours. On the way to work.
Holy fuck. Jack, turn on the radio.
What? What's happening?
Quiet.
A 3-car police convoy was involved in an accident near Pete's Bay Bridge while transporting prisoners to Orleans Parish Prison. At the moment, we do not know the exact number of victims or whether any of the convicts escaped. However, the scale of the accident indicates a large number of victims, possibly even fatal ones. Police are on their way to investigate the incident and secure the area. We know that the injured prisoners are on death row. The police were to transport them to their execution, which was to take place tomorrow morning. Many of them are very dangerous criminals. We will report on the matter on an ongoing basis, so stay tuned with us.
What? Was, Steven, was Red Pete one of the passengers? He was, wasn't he? What if he survived?
Jack, I have to go. You want me on site?
What if he survived?
I gotta go. Talk to you later, okay?
Fuck. Calm down, Jack. Pills. I need my pills. You heard him, Jack. A serious accident. Lots of victims. He's definitely dead.
C'est bon.
Yes. Nothing's going to happen. Christ. I've got to get back to work.
Bon.
What?
J'ai tendance à laisser les fenêtres. Ok. Et Y'a pas monsieur Radley? Le mec là? On ferme toutes les portes. Passer un truc, ben je peux. Voilà que c'est. Bon.
Technical break. At least I know I can pursue a career as a janitor if I need to. Fucking hell!
Ok. Moi je passe des trucs.
Poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other.
Là, on a une caméra qui... On y est. Et on filme les autopsies pour les élèves, tout simplement. Donc, là, on vient d'apprendre comme quoi il y a un mec dangereux qui... On voit... et qui aurait tué des gens.
Let's see if we were able to get anything out of this piece of crap.
Et le
And
mec
miraculously,
qu'on joue, là,
yes,
il connaît.
the samples did spin. I'll transfer them to the chromograph in the lab.
Je me rappelle ce passage. Quand j'avais fait ce passage, film, j'avais galéré. L'oracle, j'avais fait.
All right, let's load this up.
Pas lu, hein.
I placed the test tubes in the rack.
Élèves comme.
Now, just take 5 milliliters from each.
Compris.
Precisely. And the next.
Là, on descend.
5 more.
On lâche.
We put the prepared sample into the machine. Let's see what we have here. The results indicate that the deceased did consume alcohol shortly before her death. However, this is not an amount that could cause poisoning leading to death. Just slight inebriation. I can return to the body and continue the rest of the examination. The chromatograph results show that we can eliminate alcohol poisoning from our list of potential causes of death. However, remember that alcohol can affect the functioning of the entire body.
No.
It disturbs the heart rhythm, accelerating its rate, and dilutes the blood, which may result in more severe bleeding in the event of an accident. Also remember that alcohol affects the metabolism of drugs in the liver, which I'll now look at in more detail. First, I'll pick up the syringe again. I'll take samples from the liver and the heart to test the concentration of barbiturates in the body.
Okay.
That's enough. I'll do the test later. I'd best not try my luck with the centrifuge right now. Now I remove the liver. No lesions. However, it is slightly enlarged. Perhaps it's a slight inflammation or drug-induced damage. It may also be the result of the deposition of substances from drugs. Let's check the weight of the organ.
Qui est l'autre?
The weight is 1,300 grams. The liver is enlarged. I'll move on to a cross-sectional study. Perhaps the enlargement is the result of early cancerous changes. The blade glides through smoothly. I don't feel like I'm encountering any changes with an unusual structure. No steatosis or cirrhosis. The liver is actually quite clean inside. The liver is basically healthy. We already know that the deceased didn't abuse alcohol. The question is, what about drugs or other substances? I move on to the heart.
Ouf. C'est quoi?
glance, we can see signs of a heart attack. The deceased is definitely too young to have a heart attack due to natural causes. The liver is enlarged, not from alcohol poisoning, and the heart looks like it has collapsed. So, I guess we need to go to the centrifuge and check for these barbiturates. The last time I saw this kind of poisoning was a few years ago. I better check the data in my notebook. He was a middle-aged guy. He took his medication and forgot about it. So, he took another pill. He forgot again and took another one. And another one. Until he took the last one. That's why it's better to have amnesic drugs in boxes labeled with the days of the week. Alright.
Bonne valeur. Naturel. Ok. Ah. Concentration de time 10 minutes. 8%. Voilà. Minutes.
We close the centrifuge and pray that it doesn't trip anything again.
Parce que. Oh, ils ont ça.
It looks like our luck is in.
Non, ça va. On a déjà pour une fois.
We can take the samples to the lab now.
Le labo.
I wonder how she was able to get hold of these drugs.
Il y a du monde. Et les échelles.
Okay, 2 samples this time. 6 milliliters each.
Millilitres chacun. Ouch. Hop. Hop. Et
Well, let's see how much of it we find.
on va checker. Et sous moi.
Nothing surprising. Significant amounts of phenobarbital metabolites of hepatic origin. Looks like I'll have to check the contents of the deceased's stomach.
Mais c'est. Oh, voilà.
The tests showed that the collected blood contained enough barbiturates to cause cardiopulmonary collapse. The question now is whether it was an accident or a deliberate act. I'm proceeding to examine the stomach. Before extraction, I ligate the entire organ to prevent its contents from spilling out.
Oh là là.
Okay, I'm now cutting out the organ, which will move to the board for dissection.
Oui, à chaque.
Normally,
Chaque
the
fois,
stomach and
il-
intestines are full of surprises.
Peut-être qu'il- Et... Autopsy. Élèves.
But not this time. We see remnants of undigested food and a dense mass of pills. You don't take this many drugs by accident.
On n'en prend pas autant dans...
Length and width normal. No obvious pathological changes. Undigested drugs found in the stomach of the deceased. The direct cause of death was probably an overdose. I'll check the rest of the organs, and then the nervous system. We'll see how significant the marks on the neck are for the whole case. The deceased's intestine is normal. No clear pathological changes. The deceased's trachea is normal. Lungs are normal. No lesions. The victim was probably a smoker, but was unlikely to be in any serious danger. Abdominal cavity checked off. We can check the brain. I make a cut to open the lid of the victim's skull and remove the brain. Brain is normal. No obvious lesions. All right. I need to dissect it on a board.
Eh bien, madame, vous n'êtes pas très...
Using a knife, I carefully cut through the brain tissue. I peek inside a bit, and... I don't think there's anything worth noting. As expected, the deceased's brain is in excellent condition. No discoloration or changes due to hypoxia. There is still the matter of the marks on the neck. They look superficial, but who knows? Maybe the spinal cord has been severed. I need goggles and a saber saw. I think the goggles were in the desk drawer. Oh, they're out there. Alice. Some of my previous cases. A reminder of more prosperous times. Saw. Saw. Fuck. I don't see it here. Oh. I know. I probably left it in the basement after its last cleaning.
J'ai oublié de dire à la madame de rester.
Mr. Ridley, I need a key to the basement.
It's in the social room.
Why is the key lying at the... never mind. Thank you. If only he could put that much enthusiasm into his work. I get the feeling that searching through this rubbish is more pathogenic than working with corpses.
Et la clé.
Please, may this be the last trip.
Et au sous-sol. J'espère.
Fuck. Why did the prison convoy have to get into an accident? Jack, take a deep breath. Deep, pleasantly cool breath. You're nearly finished with the autopsy. Then you can go home and rest.
Ah, il y a le plan. Du coup, je dis... Oui. Et un sous. C'était ça. Que c'est ça? Non.
I'll take the saw.
Juste pourquoi c'est fait?
Fuck! It's jammed! Doesn't anyone do maintenance around here? Damn hatch. Damn red Pete. Again. If only.
Où est-ce que oui.
It would be easier if I put things away properly. Damn student lectures and their fucking props.
Le... Bon. Tout va bien, il y a un monsieur qui est là. Mais là aussi, il y a un truc. Il y a un monsieur qui est là, lui qui sert à rien en fait. Pas du tout. C'est trop bien. Il y a un Mister Radley. Vraiment, on en fait
And
qu'à
like clockwork, he's already sleeping.
la gueule. Oh, mec, réveille-toi. Ah, il use a bed. Please, retournez la clé du use the bell only once and...
Sorry for the short interruption. I hope you all took the opportunity to grab some coffee. And now that I have everything I need, I'll move on to revealing the spinal cord.
Non. Là-bas. Oh.
The spine is removed.
En
I
fait,
can see that the spinal cord was not severed.
touche à
This
tête.
shows that apart from the marks around the neck, Hank, calm down, Jack. Take it easy. Take your pills.
Ah. Allez, prends les caches. Non, c'est là. Caché pour le calme.
The direct cause of Samantha Barker's death was a heart attack resulting from an overdose of barbiturates. Traces found on the body suggest that the overdose was a deliberate act, following a failed attempt to hang herself. The autopsy found no evidence or genetic materials indicating that death could have been the result of an attack. Third-party involvement must be excluded. Autograph, and we can start sewing. In the 1950s and 1960s, the use of barbiturates for suicide was actually quite common. I think it was most talked about after the death of Marilyn Monroe. At home, it was a help and comfort. On death row, a farewell to the convicts. Well, we're done for today. Thank you for your attention.
Là, comme j'ai dit, je suis là pour...
Tiring day. I can feel those hunger pains coming on. I guess I'll have to pick something up along the way. Gloves in the trash, leave the apron for cleaning. Now I can go. Camera. A nightcap will do me good.
La voiture sur le parking.
Good night, Mr. Ridley. The police will pick up the body and accompanying documentation in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I guess there are actually two things in this world you can be certain of. Death and Ridley's reluctant attitude. Alright, maybe three things. My whiskey on the rocks when I get home.
Voilà, donc là, il y avait marqué Barker. La photo de Barker. Quoi en fait? Évident. On voit en
So
fait.
cold. I guess I should have brought my jacket to work. This block can be quite intimidating when it's so quiet. Almost there. Stephen didn't want to go out for a drink tonight, so I'll drink my whiskey in the company of my TV. Shit. I forgot the muffin. Well, Ridley will have a nice treat for the night. I'm sure he'll be his happy, thankful self tomorrow.
Super rouge avant le...
What? What? What the fuck? But I locked it. I'm sure of it.
Chapitre 2.
Who the fuck?
Et du coup, on va se retrouver.
Did this? I don't have anything valuable. Money.
Cambriolé.
Oh god. Oh
Vérifier la
god.
boîte à bijoux. Oui, parce que
What am I supposed to do now?
le plus important, c'est la boîte à bijoux.
Great. That's all I need. What if it was Red Pete? She got it for her first day of work, and she broke it the same
Y'a
day.
plus l'anneau.
She said it was for luck. It was a miracle that the coffee didn't wash off the writing. I wasn't able to support her through this.
Y'a plus l'anneau.
Where? I need my pills. I can't get my thoughts together.
Allez, prends tes... Glou, 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 glou.
Okay. Ugh. I'm gonna have to report this to the
Tiens.
police. Christ. Why did the neighbors not report anything? I'm calling... Stephen?
Now, Jack, I told you, I'm going for a drink with you for another night in a row.
That's not why I'm ringing. Although I could do with one. Someone broke into my apartment.
What? Did anyone see anything? Have you called the police yet?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, no one contacted me. As for the police, I'm calling right now, officer.
All right. Do you want me to head round? Look for any trace evidence?
I don't know. No, I guess not. Honestly, I don't have the strength to deal with it right now. I just want to lie down.
Are you sure? Because it's no trouble at all.
I think so. I'm sorry. I just wanted to calm down a bit. I don't know. That's probably some stupid joke. Only money was stolen.
Money? From Alice's box? Oh, fuck. Listen, I can come over. I have the key. I'll drop by, do what I need to do, and you go get some sleep.
No, don't trouble yourself. Lately, I've been just so tired and distracted. I don't know. Maybe I forgot to close the apartment door on my way to work. If anything else is missing, I'll let you know and call the police.
All right. Just make sure you close it tonight. If you see anything weird tomorrow, let me know. Whoever did this may be watching you.
I don't think anyone is dumb enough to come back.
You're probably right. Take care, Jack. If you need anything, call me.
I promise I will. Thanks, Stephen. Sorry to bother you again. I've just been all over the place lately.
It's not a problem. Good night, Jack.
Good night. What?
What? C'est dit que c'est l'une toute
I
seule.
guess I should clean this shit up. Where to start?
Hey.
There you go. I still don't understand why Alice liked this painting so much. To be honest, I could leave it like this.
Yeah.
Shit.
Daily.
The glass in this thing needs to be replaced.
Jack, why?
Ugh, I think I'm just tired. I'm glad this didn't break.
Mhm.
Maybe I could barricade the door with this. I should pack this thing away. I have no interest in DIY at the moment. Now I'm sure I won't get caught up in these papers. Alice's family should really have some of these. What a mess. Now if only I could blame this on the burglars. That's enough for now. Jeez, I'm exhausted. I'll get the rest in the morning.
Bon, mais voilà. C'est fait cambrioler et là. Pas d'objectif.
Oh yeah, I should take my pills.
Dès qu'il se réveille, il prend les cachets en fait. J'espère qu'il n'en aura plus. Allez. Glou, glou, glou.
I feel like it takes me forever to finish these things. That's enough. It will never look clean. I need to quickly change and finish getting ready. I'm gonna be late for work again. Got my keys, got my files. Check. Time to go. Remember to close the door properly, Jack. I'll ask the neighbors tomorrow if they saw anything suspicious. I wonder if Ridley fixed the coffee machine.
Ah, j'aime pas cet appartement, c'est chelou. Aller plus vite. Ah non. Bon. Voilà, on y va. Prochaine la voiture et au travail.
Maybe a bit optimistic. I'd better grab a coffee on the way.
Donc tu ferais mieux d'acheter du...
I'm exhausted. I wonder who Stephen brought in today. Good morning, Mr. Ridley. Oh,
Elle est pas là.
he's not here yet? No, I'll do without him.
Oui. Oh. Menace qui rigole dans mes oreilles et prier de dégager.
Almost there. Now for the tough part. The body needs to be moved. Where's Ridley when you need him?
Râler, il est jamais là quand on...
All right. I just need some gloves and my apron. Then I can get to work.
Les gants.
I'm going to need my tape recorder for this.
Activer l'enregistreur sur le bureau.
Autopsy dated November 22nd, 1991. 7:32 p.m. Led by Dr. Jack Hanman. I begin by verifying the identity of the Jane Doe. It's most likely Harper Lloyd, age 35. Found in a well-owned house by her neighbors Leonard and Dorothy Chelsea. Reported missing for a week.
Putain, dans le puits de ses voisins.
Firefighters found the body after the Chelsea family began complaining that their tap water tasted strange, and at one point had begun to smell and turn a dark color.
C'est devenu foncé. Bipolaire désordre.
It is also known that the deceased was diagnosed with affective bipolar disorder. Harper was placed on drug therapy, which she dropped out of fairly regularly. During her treatment, she was under the care of her common-law partner, Richard Benson, professional truck driver. The last person who had contact with the deceased was her partner. Harper's last message read as follows. I'm gonna take a shit in their stupid well. Then we'll see who has the last laugh. Nice one. Police records also show that Mrs. Lloyd was in constant conflict with her neighbors. The constant parties and subsequent brawls made living in the air. The most important task in forensic identification of a drowned person is to distinguish whether the death occurred before or after entering the water. Okay,
Hop,
that could have been worse. I carefully removed the victim's clothes so as not to damage the skin. The deceased was found, but one shoe was missing. I'm going to need the camera to document all possible suspicious marks.
Ah putain.
Definitely the first thing that stands out is the very advanced post-mortem gigantism. The skin of the deceased appears very delicate, smooth, and relaxed from being in the water for a long time. The whole body is extremely pale. There are bruises and hemorrhages on the neck. These usually occur due to increased inhalation when fighting to breathe underwater. Post-mortem markings are seen on the underside of the body. That is, on the back, thighs, and calves of the deceased. It's likely that the deceased was lying on her back when she was fished out. The so-called washerwoman's skin on the feet. The deceased had indeed been in the water for a long time.
Yes. Oh.
There are some obvious scratches on the skin. The skin on the hands can be easily separated from the
Ah, mais
body.
il va être coriace,
The
celui-là.
separation takes the form of a glove. So, after the preliminary exam, it's time to take a closer look at this. Today's date, the deceased was clothed. Rigor mortis does not need to be checked. Based on the state of decay, you can be sure it has subsided.
Les zones d'intérêt à la loupe.
Where to start? We see thick white foam in the mouth of the deceased, resulting from pulmonary edema. Foam is a characteristic in deaths due to drowning.
D'accord.
Yep, pretty typical. Liver mortis are formed as a result of putrefaction of blood in the veins.
De la putréfaction du sang dans les veines. Génial.
The spots have a purplish blue-red hue, which is a typical sign of the death of the organism. There are obvious scratches on the skin, especially on the back and hands. These could be defensive wounds, evidence of some sort of altercation prior to death. No obvious signs of struggle. The skin on the hands would have easily peeled away from the flesh.
La main,
Some
elle
of
est
the
noire.
fingers have already lost their nails.
Oh là là. Tonton.
Due to the fact that the deceased was wearing shoes all the time, her feet are in better condition than her hands. Nevertheless, we can still notice a clear, wavy skin and the so-called Okay, that's probably enough to indicate a direction for further examination. I'd better note that down in the records. Marks found on the neck and foaming, those abrade hands heavily wrinkled considering the deceased's penchant for diffuse. There doesn't seem to be anything unusual about this liver mortis. Maybe it's just their liver mortis of a different color could indicate poisoning with carbon monoxide, cyanides, or nitrates. However, this is not the case here.
Noyade, un tiers. Chute.
That's all for now.
Et ben c'est bon. Posez l'écriture et continuez avec.
Before I begin the dissection, I'll make sure the suggested identity is correct. The suitcase with the fingerprint equipment should be around here somewhere.
Dans la mallette pour réaliser des empreintes digitales.
Here it is. With decomposing bodies, the tissue of the fingerprint sheet should always be checked. If the body of the deceased is well preserved, fingerprinting is similar to that of a living person. I'm going to conduct a dactyloscopic examination. If in fact the deceased is in the police database, I will find her. Glycerin is injected successively between the nail and the skin of each finger. The substance then enters the fingertip, removing shrinkage and wrinkles.
Allez. Oh, la maniabilité, c'est pas ça.
Now I take a brush. Only when the skin is taut and elastic can you use ink. I think it's enough. I'm getting fingerprint samples. In the case of drowning victims, you have to be extremely careful. The skin may fall off the hand like a glove when you take the print. I'll use the fax machine to add the print into the system.
C'est la madame. Hein.
Oh, Jesus.
Alors non, on a dit de rester assise.
Green button and... Once the data uploads, I'll run the prints against the police database on the computer. Great. The data is there. Click upload. Now, go through the database and find a matching print. Expect possible hours of fun. One more. Okay. Let's check for matches.
C'est la deuxième.
This is not our Jane Doe. I wish there was an easier way to... One more. Analyze button. And we have a result. Everyone has a story to tell, even if it's just a police record. So, as predicted, the deceased turned out to be Harper Lloyd. That went smoothly. I'll print this out and attach it to the medical records. Great. Now I can go back to my inspection. I'm adding the name of the deceased. I'll start the internal examination by taking fluid from the victim. A needle inserted through the nose will do the trick. If the victim was alive when she fell into the well, she must have swallowed water fighting for her life. And then diatoms, characteristics of pooled water like a well, got into the body.
vous. Si.
In the meantime, I'll check the sample under the microscope. I'm sure that these algae traces will be found in the samples taken from the well where police found the body.
Ah, bien sûr.
Now I need to adjust the knobs properly and place the diatom in the center of the slide. Diatoms are single-celled microscopic algae. The aperture still needs adjustment. Oh, the aperture still needs adjustment. The image is too dark. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm... It's not a dirty lens, and perfect. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. And perfect. Nah. Oh. I'm finally starting to see something here. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from... Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. Nah. Too much... Oh. I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not... And perfect.
Alors?
I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this... Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. The aperture still needs adjustment. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. Nah, too much... Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. Nah, too much light. Oh, I'm finally starting to see... Nah, oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. But and perfect.
Alors?
The aperture still needs adjustment. Oh, nah, too much light. I won't be able to see the diatoms transparent. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. Nah, oh, I'm finally Nah, too much light. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid. And perfect. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. Nah, too much light. Oh, the aperture still needs adjustment. The image is too dark. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. Nah, too much light. I won't... Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, rather a bad focus. And perfect.
Alors.
It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. And perfect.
Ah ouais, mais non.
It's not a dirty lens. And
Ah.
perfect. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae.
Là, bon machin.
Nah, too much light. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. Nah, too much light. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae.
Compris.
And perfect. As expected, we find the aforementioned algae in the solution. Their upper part, epitheca, which overlaps the lower, hypotheca, is clearly visible. The presence of diatoms in the brain samples taken indicate that the deceased was certainly alive when she fell into the water and was possibly conscious.
On va on continue du coup le petit gameplay. Reprendre l'autopsie.
Since there were diatoms in the brain, it means that many more of them must have entered the body. Studies of the rest of the organs will most likely confirm this hypothesis. I can finally get to the practical part. I must be extra careful because the skin of the deceased is very stretched. I wouldn't want an explosion here.
Toi. Oh.
You can immediately see a very large swelling of the organs. In addition, all internal organs are very congested. I proceed to remove the rib cage. It's easy to see that the ribs have been imprinted in the lungs. So, I'm going to start by drawing blood from the lungs for testing for diatoms. If diatoms were only present in the lungs, this would mean
Allez, on va
that the
aller
victim was
diatomer.
placed in the well after death, and the perpetrator wanted to get rid of the corpse in this way. Now, I remove the lungs and proceed to their examination. Taking the lungs in my hand, I feel that the tissues have lost their elasticity, which is the result of water emphysema. In addition, there is significant swelling of the organs. and as a result, we have a nice imprint of the ribs. The emphysema itself, it's clear how far it's progressed, which is characteristic of drowning. Corpses found in water are worth examining with a tomograph. However, I can't count on such luxuries, so I must reach for a more archaic technology. A bucket and water.
D'accord. Merci d'avoir dit en anglais. Moi qui ai vu la traduction en bas. Le français te parle anglais. Bon. Bien vu. Hein.
Ooh. I hope no one dipped a mop in it. It's best to go to the lab for this.
On n'a rien vu, il y avait personne. Voilà.
Historically, the lung float test is used to detect infanticide. The water should be at room temperature. That's enough. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water. This checks if there is air in the lungs. And speaking of lungs, everything is ready to bring them here. Of course, such a study isn't without flaws. Air may have entered a newborn's airways during resuscitation attempts. Gases released during decomposition could also give a false result. In this case, however, it's about something else. Namely, the amount of fluid in the lungs. To test for this, I have to place the lungs in a container of water and wait to see if they fall or if they will float on the surface. Just as I assumed, the lungs collapsed easily. Fluid could have entered the lungs during panic attempts to catch breath underwater, but it could also be the result of bacterial infections or cancer, so further investigation is needed.
Et les portes ne veulent pas me laisser rentrer.
I move on to dissecting the lungs of the deceased. You can hear the distinct, very unpleasant crackling of the tissues being cut through. The parenchyma is remarkably pale, although small hemorrhagic foci and petechia are present on the surface. All right. Now, I will check the collected fluid under a microscope. If we find 20 diatoms on the slide, it can be considered drowning, and our result is not false positive due to possible contaminations. Let's see. Although I expect we'll find them easily. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. And perfect. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with... It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. The aperture still needs adjustment. Oh, I'm finally starting to see something here. It's not a dirty lens, I'm afraid, but rather a bad focus. I won't even notice an army of diatoms from this distance. Great. This way I'll see if I'm dealing with a large concentration of these algae. And perfect. as expected. In solution, the diatoms are clearly visible. There are smaller and larger clusters. There will definitely... I'll make a note of all this.
Bactéries.
So far, this case looks pretty standard. It's clear from the beginning that it's... well, the procedure requires me to check everything anyway.
Bon, une noyade sèche. De plus, l'analyse microscopique a révélé une grande quantité de diatomées dans le liquide.
So, I move on to checking the other organs. I ligate the heart, and then remove it for inspection. Strongly developed putrefactic hemolysis, the organ can be seen at first glance. Apart from that, no signs of a heart attack or other heart disease. I move on to the next organ. This time, it's the liver.
Et du foie.
It's immediately apparent that the deceased didn't care for herself. Like most organs, her liver is enlarged and severely congested. The beginnings of cirrhosis are visible in some areas. I transfer the organ to a board and proceed to dissect.
Et le foie.
The cross-section clearly shows dilated veins. I must admit that this is quite a feat, considering the rather young age of the deceased. Harper enjoyed drinking so much that she might not have lasted a few more years.
Du foie avec veine dilatée, cirrhose alcoolique.
I move on to the stomach. I take a sample of the fluid for testing.
De l'estomac pour opérer les diatomées. On a fait dans le cœur, dans... On va faire
It
dans
looks
les...
very turbid. I'll see what happens after spinning, but that's in a moment. Now, I carefully ligate the organ, then cut it off. It's enlarged, probably full of putrid gases.
Il est gonflé, hein.
I transfer it to the board and carefully open it, checking the contents.
Tout rosé, il est... Bien... comment dire... Bien... Il est gonflé, quoi. Prends une poche...
One thing you'd never get used to is how much this desk smells.
On prend une... voilà, les sacs de congélation. On le remplit d'eau. Et ben, ça qui fait être gonflé. Mais là, l'estomac, c'est pareil. Il y a un liquide avant la mort qui s'est mis dans l'organe. Forcément...
Okay. The stomach is full of fluid and unidentified organic matter, which is probably leftover food. So let's check the diatoms. Again, but in a centrifuge for a change. The problem with examining drowned people is being able to show whether the death was due to drowning or whether something else contributed to the death. Cramp, heart attack, drugs, homicide, or some accident. Such an analysis requires viewing from different angles and a careful interpretation of the collected data, including those from the field. That's why it's so important to collect as many samples as possible. Unfortunately.
Repérer la présence de diatomées dans l'estomac.
Okay, this is one last little sample.
L'estomac.
Now, set.
Alors, les diatomées. Time. Moi, je te surveille et je regarde là aussi. C'est prêt à sortir dans le retour de la centrale. Ça m'étonne que les plombs ils ont pas sauté.
Done. I'll run it directly into the
Eh
chromatograph
ben génial.
and run it against the data from the police.
Tout est rempli de...
I'm certain the analysis will show similarities between the fluid and water in Chelsea's well.
Le rack. Toi tu restes là, attention. Place les échantillons dans le...
Let me think. 3 milliliters should be fine.
1 millilitre. Ah. Hop.
Okay, now it's the chromatograph's turn.
On met dans le chromatographe là. Regarde.
Yes. The water sample matches the one provided by the police. Well, the results are quite clear. I was hoping it would be a more interesting case.
Intéressant, faut des... Estomac dilaté avec
Analysis.
irrité. La dissection de l'estomac a révélé du fluide ainsi qu'une matière organique non digérée, de sang ni de drogue.
There's little left to do. I'm going to check the airway patency of it. Looks like there's something stuck in the trachea. I'm moving to the board for further inspection.
On dirait un poulet ou une dinde de Noël.
I dissect the trachea and open the organ.
Chaque truc qui fait, ben, il est commun.
Inside, based on the size, I can say that it's a woman's wedding ring. Quite standard from the outside. There... What the fuck? But this is my ring. Alice's ring. But how did it... But this should be at home. I have it. At home. It's... I have to check this out.
Yep.
Where are my meds? What? Huh?
C'est bon. Fuck. Café, j'ai dit.
I've already taken my pills. Not looking to overdose.
Ah, peut-être.
Jesus Christ! Hope these all make it go away. I have to check the apartment. It can't be. Jesus Christ! Mr. Ridley. Jesus Christ!
Oula.
I have to check this out. This can't be real. Where is it? Where is it? Where?
Et il devient fou le perso.
Please be there. It can't. It's not here. It's not. I need to go. This is sick. Fuck.
Il a perdu sa femme et il retrouve l'alliance dans le corps.
Come on, Steven. Pick up the fucking phone.
What's up, man?
They took the ring.
What? What ring? What are you talking about?
They took the wedding ring. Alice's wedding ring.
One sec. You mean burglary? You said nothing was missing.
Yes, I know that. I don't know. I was jittery. Maybe I didn't notice. I don't know, but that's not the worst of it.
Calm down, Jack. Breathe. What happened?
I found it in the trachea of the deceased I was working on. Do you understand? I pulled it out of a dead woman's trachea.
What?
I don't know what's going on. You think Red Pete wants revenge? He's playing with me. Huh? I knew it. I knew it from the beginning this was going to happen. I didn't make it up!
Jack, listen to me. Try to calm down. Don't leave the apartment. I'll be with you right away, okay? I'm on my way.
What sane person would do something like that? How? And when? When the fuck? Fucking Ridley lets in whoever he likes as usual. What are you saying? Steven? Don't leave me, man. Come on. Fuck. Oh, God, what now? Okay, just calm down. Just calm down. I need a drink.
On va aller au bureau et on va boire un.
Jesus. What's
Il devient fou.
going on?
Il y a rien qui se verse dans le verre.
Just one sip more. Yep.
Il est en train de se saouler à l'alcool.
Jesus.
Bichette.
Just one sip more. Oh, God.
Hein? Titre 3.
All right. I can't do it anymore. These reports will kill me one day. I'll have to finish finish it over the weekend. It's time to go to work. I should take out the trash first. Jesus. Fuck. Maybe I'll just stick.
Alors, on a déjà fait 2 chapitres, plus l'introduction. Là, on est au chapitre 3. Donc, il y a beaucoup de choses qu'on apprend, hein. C'est assez compliqué. Déjà, que sa femme qui meurt, qu'on apprend qu'elle meurt au début, que ça fait 1 an qu'il est sans elle, et que là, il retrouve l'alliance de sa femme Alice dans la trachée du mort. Donc, du coup, elle est morte. Pour moi, elle est morte. Et voilà, c'est assez... c'est perturbant, en fait, quand tu réfléchis à l'histoire, parce que c'est quelque chose qui peut arriver à tout le monde, en fait. C'est pas une histoire inventée. C'est quelque chose qui peut vraiment se passer dans la vraie vie. C'est assez... dire que ça va arriver à tout le monde, que ça peut nous arriver. Franchement, c'est bizarre. Bon, en tout cas, moi, je pense que je vais m'arrêter là pour aujourd'hui, pour cette première vidéo de Autopsy Simulator. J'espère que la vidéo elle vous aura plu. Si c'est le cas, n'hésitez pas à vous abonner si ce n'est pas déjà fait. N'hésitez pas à lâcher un petit pouce, ça fera toujours plaisir. Ça fera plaisir à la chaîne également. N'hésitez pas aussi à commenter, partager la vidéo, proches, vos amis, famille, etc., etc. Ça fera toujours plaisir d'en parler, d'échanger avec vous, la vidéo, ce que vous avez pensé, ce que vous avez aimé, s'il y a des trucs qui vous ont gêné. Et voilà. Eh bien moi je vous dis bonne fin de journée ou bonne matinée si vous vous réveillez. Ou du coup bonne fin de journée si c'est le soir, l'après-midi. Ça dépend de l'heure à laquelle vous regardez la vidéo. Moi je vous dis à bientôt dans un nouveau gameplay de Autopsy Simulator. Et c'était Dark Angel.